Hey everyone, welcome to the Call to Rise podcast. We're here with my brother, Josh Crawford. He owns the Pizza Factory in Decatur. He has some rental properties. Obviously, we grew up together, only being 13 months apart, and so we're really close. And I wanted to bring him on here so he could kind of tell his story, talk about the Pizza Factory, talk about the stuff he's up to, and hopefully help everybody get better. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I guess we're going to start with give us background on what led to you buying the Pizza Factory. You know, obviously we grew up in the business, but, you know, what kind of led you to end up being, you know, in the position to buy the Pizza Factory?
Yeah, obviously growing up in the business, I think we both kind of developed that deep love for the pizza business and just the ins and outs of it and just the people and the customers and whatnot. I mean, I was just having a tough time really in my early 20s trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I think part of that was just us growing up in that business, and you know, it almost felt like we were almost obligated at moments to want to go down that path. But after kind of getting out and gaining some perspective and stuff, I think I really just knew that I wanted to be my own boss and kind of wanted to dictate my own days and just wanted to have that freedom, whether it be with my time or some more potential financial freedom. You know.
Well, so yeah, I mean, I agree, and that was one of my motivations, was being my own boss and quote unquote being able to create my own schedule. But I think we both know that we don't really get to create our own schedule, and being an entrepreneur in general, let alone in the restaurant business,
That's true.
you have, I mean, you know as well as I do that really your team dictates your schedule.
Right, that is true. That is true. But, I mean, it obviously allows you to potentially build a strong team to get to somewhere that a typical 9-to-5 can't get to.
Exactly, yeah, that's the goal.
So, I mean, that's kind of the whole dream behind being a small business owner. But, obviously, I think, like you just said, I mean, we've been doing it long enough now where we've had our good moments, our good months, we've had our good years, we've had our tougher years. I mean, but it's still a blessing at the end of the day to be able to do it. And I've grown to understand more where people kind of look up to a small business owner or people that wonder how small business owners do it, you know. But it does take an extra drive. But I would definitely say my main motivation to wanting to own the Pizza Factory was just to be my own boss and dictate, you know, how the store was going to be ran and whatnot. And, you know, kind of just fell into the opportunity almost. Whenever I was working for you at Crawford's in Maroa for a short stint, after kind of getting away, I just kind of got the opportunity from Dad, and he was ready to kind of be done with the situation. And I was still kind of trying to figure out what direction I wanted to go in life because I was kind of looking into, you know, sales jobs and different things that I could potentially, you know, grow within a different company. But, yeah, I got that opportunity, and, you know, thankful I did because, you know, I definitely wouldn't be sitting here right now with the success that I've been able to, you know, accumulate over the past 10 years. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's, I mean, obviously very blessed and fortunate, but obviously there's a lot. What have been some of the biggest hurdles? I mean, obviously staffing, I feel like, has been an up and down thing, especially since COVID in our industry. You know, I know you're fortunate to have some good core people like we are, but, you know, like going back to being an entrepreneur and being your own boss, you know, having that staff, you know, how important that really is to actually.
It's definitely key. I mean, I've learned a lot over the past, 3 years especially, and I feel like that's the one thing is whenever you start businesses, I understand when you start them from, the ground up and you don't have those core pieces out the gate, I mean, it's extremely hard. You know, I was blessed and lucky to have a couple key pieces that, you know, Dad had that was still working there, like our dough roller that had been there for 15 years, and he had done our, you know, ordering and stuff and knew the ins and outs of, you know, fixing some equipment. I mean, some of the, you know, things since he retired 4 years ago, you kind of take for granted too. Some of the, you know, miscellaneous equipment things that you need to continuously stay up on, and stuff like that. I mean, so I would say staffing has to be number one. I mean, and just having trustworthy people. You know, it's not just about the money in the drawer. It's about if we open at 3, or can you get there at 2:55 and make sure that the first customer that might be calling in a minute early is going to get their order taken. I mean, it comes down to if, you know, you want to take some time away, can you trust people to, you know, take care of the customer like you would, you know? So I don't know. I would say definitely staffing is the toughest thing because, you know, the jobs have gotten more competitive in our area too. So I mean, it's tougher to find those people that are the, you know, kind of outlier people that really, you know, are the glue for a business like ours, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, how have you been able to find, I guess, more staff? Has it just been, I mean, we've used Facebook, stuff like that, social media, but I
Right.
mean,
I mean, I've tried like Facebook and stuff, but the thing that has worked best with us has been like organic growth. I mean, there's been times where I've had to push more of the, you know, I've never had to use, you know, knock on wood, I've never had success with Indeed. I know other places have had success with it. It's gotten a little bit more expensive recently, but I mean, I would say, you know, a simple Facebook post can potentially get you some applications, but I mean, I'm willing to bet that a lot of other business owners would probably agree with me since COVID. A better way to gain new employees is to have them maybe fill out a paper, you know, application, come down and like almost see that person first. You know, it gets them out of the house, come down, fill out the application. And normally, if I'm at work, I'll have that conversation with somebody at the counter as they're filling out the application just to cut out some of the BS because, you know, obviously I think in any industry that was working during COVID and shortly after COVID, I mean, it just, it's tough to get the people to show up for the interview. It's tough to get people to come fill out an application. So, I mean, I definitely think that right there shows you that they have some potential if they're willing to come down and put forth some effort.
yeah, I mean, most people want to just fill it out online.
Right, it's
And,
easy, and
and
it's the easiest thing to set up too these days is to set up those applications online. But I just don't think they're, you know, fully invest in the job. If it's something simple, you know, just to fill it out, or maybe they just don't take the job as seriously. But I mean, that's just the challenge. I think I've thought about that a lot over the past like year. Is, you know, I've thought to myself, man, I wish I could provide maybe a higher paying job, or you know, maybe our job isn't the greatest, you know, paying, but you know, we could try to, you know, make it a more fun job for other people to
right,
work. But I mean, I think that even if, you know, I was an electrician and owned my own, you know, electrical company, I think it's just, it doesn't matter what the price is really. I think it just comes down to quality of job, quality of environment. I think you can definitely keep people around longer based on how you treat them.
yeah, I think that's important for what we do. I mean, because at the end of the day, for most of our employees, it's an entry level job, you know. But I think we have an obligation to train them up as best we can for their next step in life. You know, whether they're going to go on to college and then go out and get a real world job, you know, after they get a degree or something. I think it's our obligation to hopefully set them up for success, like be on time, you know,
Oh yeah, I mean,
wear the attire you're supposed to wear, you know,
right. I think
act a certain
everyone
way.
has the potential. I think.
Oh, sure.
I think a lot of it just comes down to do they want to give in to, you know, it's kind of like joining a sports team or something. Are you going to join the culture? Are you going to
Get
allow
the
yourself to
buy-in.
fit in? Are you going to buy into, like, for me, it is all about the customer. It is all about the retention of having people come back. It's about, you know, our regulars that come in every single weekend that, you know, appreciate me being there, appreciate me making sure their quality of food comes in. I mean, I need somebody that's going to buy into that whole situation because, I mean, that's how you really get people to come back because
Yeah,
there's
I
so
mean,
many people doing the same stuff in this town.
yeah, I mean, obviously, people being happy with the service and the food is like what makes it enjoyable for us,
Oh, yeah.
you know. And then, I mean, another thing that I really enjoy is getting to pour into these younger. I mean, typically for us, it's younger kids that are still in high school or early college or whatever, and then seeing them kind of grow. You know, they work for us for a year or two, then they go off to school, and just seeing them grow and like, you know, that's one of my favorite parts of what we do is hopefully just being a part of encouraging them and nudging them in the right path of being a contributor to society down the road.
Right, and I would say that's another reason why I wanted to own my own business was just because, whenever we were younger and we were managing at a younger age, and I mean, I can't remember what age you were when you became the GM.
Probably 18, 19.
Yeah, something like that. But I mean, like even just doing managerial stuff where, Dad might have, expected us to train more than other people or be more hands-on just because, we're the owner's sons or whatnot, or we're in a managerial position, back then. But I mean, I did enjoy that, teaching some of the younger guys and like you said, seeing them kind of move on to their next step and seeing how they're progressing in life. And it's just nice to hear, even at the end of somebody's, 2 weeks or, somebody moving on to the next job, like, oh man, I've never had a better job than that.
Yeah,
they're like,
grateful.
Yeah, grateful for the job. And, that's the thing that's tough to find too, that people are just, I used to have a driver that was probably in his 40s that had passed away, Joe. And he, like, at the end of every shift, appreciate you. Appreciate the job and stuff like that. Which, I mean, I don't expect that. You know what I mean? Because,
But it's nice to hear because I try to make it a goal to tell our team members, thank you. Like, I appreciate you. And,
yeah, especially when
you have some that have been with you for years. I have some that have been with us. Hill and I have some that have been with us for years. And, like, we appreciate all of our team members, but those ones that like literally stick around for years, it's like, gosh, thank you. I mean, it's so hard to find people that are, willing to.
Well, and that's where I used to think like, man, maybe if we could, pay everyone $60,000 to $80,000 a year, they'd never leave. But I just feel like that's just kind of foolish. I think
It's a lot of pizzas.
Well. Oh, yeah, it's a lot of pizzas. But, I mean, I just feel like it is kind of like a foolish thought. It's just not everyone's driven by money. And there's a lot of people that are still driven by just a good place to work and a good boss and people that show respect to each other and, I don't know, and just a little bit of freedom, too. I think, obviously, owning a small business and being a small pizza shop, we do have that, a little bit of freedom that we can give people that other corporate
not be as strict
as the
harsh.
franchises like Jimmy John's that I worked at and stuff like that. They're very strict to a T and allows you to have some more personality in there.
Yeah. So aside from staffing, what have been some of your biggest challenges?
I would say, I mean, during COVID, we had the issue of not being able to get every single product all the time like we've been able to. I mean, obviously food costs is always going to be a constant battle, But, I mean, and I would say, it kind of goes with staffing, but, like, our angle is delivery carryout. So, I mean, our, deliverance probably 60% of our business at this point. So, obviously, anytime that we are, like, low on drivers, it's been a challenge over the past 10 years, because when you're talking about 60% of your income, you got to make sure and keep plenty of drivers if you want to stay down that route instead of having to go the DoorDash route or the Grubhub route where they're, robbing you slightly blind. But
would you say that, I mean, especially in this area, there's a lot more restaurants than there were 4 or 5 years ago, like pre-COVID, as far as like smaller restaurants in Macon County? I know everybody will say, well, Forsyth has lost some or whatever, but I'm talking about like Macon County as a whole.
Right.
There are, I feel like, more restaurants, and specifically, I feel like there's more pizza places and there's more Mexican restaurants. So like that, I feel like even though there's some places that have opened up that aren't at, pizza, there's still competition in the fact that, they're taking away a little bit of a piece of the pie. So
and I think, it definitely has. But realistically, you got to try and stay focused on your situation.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, because these other small businesses, too, just do such a good job, too. It's hard to, there's plenty of mouths to feed in Macon County. It's just the best thing you can do is just take care of your situation and double down on your quality, double down on your customer service, and really just, try to
very
hone in
about
on
you.
what you're doing good, because these other places do a good job too. And then, because I like to support a lot of these other small businesses too. Like you brought up the
Sure.
Mexican restaurants. We go, me and my wife go to Tacos and Tequila, and we go to El Rodeo. We go to,
Yeah.
Smacking
Yes.
Tacos. Just like you can find something exceptional at any of these places. And then on top of the brick and mortars, you also now we're into the food trailer
Mm-hmm.
time of
Yep.
year
Yep.
where not only is it the small brick and mortars or the other businesses that are brick and mortars, but I mean now obviously this is our slower time of the year, and it kind of makes sense. It's because not only do we have the other competition, but we do have food trucks that might even come from out of town and come to the park for an
Mm-hmm.
event this weekend, or
Yeah.
that they might have the Devon's going to be kicking off here soon. That's been kind of one of our challenges over the past few years, has been that becoming so popular, and that being something that we don't obviously deliver to that or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot of people want to eat where they're going to their activity, and it makes sense. So, but I mean, we've still been blessed, and we've still been like fortunate to surprisingly even like grow through some of these like tougher situations. But I'd like to think that it just comes down to me just doubling down on being there, and trying to make sure the customers are all taken care of, equally, and taken care of quickly, and they get a good quality pizza. The times
Yeah.
where we have been too busy to continue taking orders. I mean, I just at least hope that the food, was quality, and maybe they didn't get it as fast this time, but we try to get it faster, the next time. So,
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I think it comes down to is there's plenty of customers, and it's all about just worrying about your business, how you can grow your business, take care of your customers, take care of your team, and do your best. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like an iron sharpens iron situation. If there were no other pizza places in Decatur, would you try as hard? You'd like to say yes, but maybe not because
right.
you'd be so busy because you're the only one. But so like the competition is healthy. It's a matter of just looking at it that way of okay, well, I just need to do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with looking at it as a competition. I need to do better than
Right.
them. I need to
Right.
serve a better product and give better service. And they can be successful too. It's not rooting against anybody,
Oh yeah, I
but
think it can be a healthy thing until it's not. I mean, you really just got to do a good job of just focusing on your stuff,
yeah,
because yes, healthy competition is a good thing, because like you said, I mean, not having the competition breeds complacency, and
yeah,
then not only are you not succeeding, but then your customers aren't getting the quality that they were once receiving. And I mean, really just comes down to just staying focused, and putting one foot in front of the other every single day, and just also just not being too greedy with it, because like I said, you're going to have days where maybe you're like, oh man, it's raining, this is a perfect environment for us, let's get ready to be busy, and you prepare the store for that, and then you're just not as busy. Or maybe you put money into advertising that month, and you just were really expecting it to hit
sure,
like you did 2 months ago, and or you did a mailer, and a lot of these things, like are expensive to do these days. So I mean, the best thing you can do is grow organically, and the cheapest way you can grow is organically these days. But
What are some advertising things that you guys like to do?
I mean, we like to do like the Mail South ad, the one that has
The
Steak and
direct mailer.
Shake, the direct
Yeah,
mailer.
yeah.
It's a coupon sheet that comes in with Steak and Shake, and there's other pizza places in there as well. But I mean, it's once again, it's a good, healthy competition in there as well. With their different deals versus our different deals. I mean, we started tapping into the radio again, just
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, we do still think that there's an audience there, and I mean, over
Sure.
the holiday time, I mean, it definitely did help. It gave us a little boost, and maybe, so, it's also like those little things that people don't even realize that you're even targeting them, but they heard your commercial, and maybe they're ordering like within the next week, and that's kind of what it's all about. But I mean, we try to just like do coupons on boxes, just
Mm-hmm.
from organically. I mean, that's pretty much it. Besides, like our regular Facebook audience, I mean, I've
Sure.
tried tapping into that more, just because I've noticed that kind of working more around here. Which
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing I've learned over the past year or two, is just don't be afraid to learn from your competitors too. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
jealous of them, but like and don't like steal all their ideas or their employees or anything, but just try to figure out like it's okay if something they're doing is working better than yours. I mean, maybe there's an adjustment you can make on your end that, you know, and not everyone's gonna like our food. I think us growing up, like I would hear people say, "Oh, Pizza Factory sucks," and we're just like, you know, everyone orders Pizza Factory. Like, what do you mean Pizza Factory sucks? We eat it
Yeah,
all the
no, I mean,
time.
sometimes people just don't
I mean,
like the style of
don't
pizza.
don't like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
fine. I mean, there's people that come down from Chicago and they're used to a certain type of deep dish, and
yeah.
hey, that's fine. You don't like a thin, crispy crust. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean, right now, like you said, you focus on delivery carryout only. You're in the same spot that it was in the whole time we were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any plans? Like, are you any hopes or anything? For I know that
I mean,
you've
I've
always said you
considered
want to
it.
stay kind of in South Shores because that's like,
Yeah, the only thing
the
that worries me
community.
is like I think that location does matter. I think the Pizza Factory has proven over the past especially the past like 20 years that like location's not everything. So like I would say location does play a big factor in where my next location would be. But I mean, in the same breath, I think that we do have a strong following and we're blessed to have a great customer base that likes to support us. So I'd like to think that we could kind of transition into like a newer spot and it work kind of anywhere in this county. But I mean, I do think you have to be careful with it because it is a big investment. It's a big idea. I mean, obviously, I haven't been paying for a mortgage of where I've been for the past 10 years,
Sure.
which has its pluses and minuses, but, not having that, you know, huge investment for the next 20 to 30 years of like a building is something that I've pondered. And I don't know if I want to get that deep into it or if I just want to keep like owning the idea and the business, and being able to take it and potentially lease a spot maybe or,
Sure.
but I mean, I wouldn't mind getting into, having some inside seating, because I've had customers over the past, year and a half that have asked, have you thought about, having inside seating? We really like to have our dinner with you guys. And I think that's what it's all about. I mean, you guys have always done a good job of creating them in an environment of like a family environment where people like want to go. People want to go discuss the football game afterwards. They want to spend
Yeah.
time with their family. They, you know what I mean? And they just like a lot of people like being served and like having a server come out to their table, and especially if they're polite and just add to the experience.
Yeah.
I think it's something you can build off of, but then once again, you kind of get back into the whole, talking about staffing again. And then you're talking about, you need a front of house staff. And then, right now I'm dealing with just a kitchen staff and, me and a couple managerial people that can run a night. And I mean, you really got to look into just all the ins and outs of it because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't be at two places at once either. So if
Right,
you're thinking
no,
about doing a
and
second location, I mean, I think it's exciting and I think about it all the time, but then I also think about, well, I'm only one person, so it's just
yeah, no, I mean that's obviously, I mean, things that we had to consider when we went from 1 to 2, and I didn't think about them very much further than, thinking I could just do it all myself. So that's why it was so hard for me whenever we did go from 1 to 2 because I, always just had the mentality I could just do it myself. But obviously, you've been doing the Pizza Factory for 10 years now. Mount Moreau had only been open for 2 years whenever we decided to, do a second store. So I wasn't as like, I didn't have as much experience, as far as at that time. This was obviously 12 years
and
ago.
obviously every business is different. I think the more that I've learned all the ins and outs of our business, the more it's made me scared to do another one. If I would have pulled the trigger on like a second location within the first 5 years when I had my first key people there, then it could have worked easily. Not easily, but I mean it could have worked.
Yeah.
But if you don't have, and that main foundation piece, being John, the dough roller, because that's the one thing I've learned. Obviously, in our business, preparation is necessary. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't even realize that we make our dough every single day.
oh
We
yeah,
make our sauce every single day. We shred our own cheese. We dice our own vegetables.
right. And I
We
mean,
do. I mean,
you
we
can
don't just buy it it doesn't come prepped ready to go for us. So
Right.
we have a
And
lot of labor hours
oh yeah,
and
and
effort
you can
into
delegate out
that.
all those tasks as long as you have the bodies to be able to do it,
Well, and
and
do it correctly.
and do it correct. Yeah, I mean, because the dough rolling stuff, I'm just kind of, prepping your own dough fresh daily. Like, there's so many different elements that can
Yeah.
change it, and a
Well,
lot
we're
of
getting
people.
into that season now. The
Right,
humidity
the humidity
changes,
changes.
how much water we
Right.
need to use for the dough and how long you can let it sit before you actually roll it out. All this, there's so many different
Yeah. So, I mean,
factors.
if you have that key piece, like in your business, at least in my business, like, I think it's extremely important to build your foundation off of that, and then kind of fill in the blank spots.
So just to get off topic from business and everything, like what just motivates you in general? What, you know, somebody just trying to get to know you a little bit better as, yes, you're a business owner, stuff like that. Like what motivates you? I mean, obviously, um, some of your interests, some of your likes, obviously you said you're married. So,
Mhm.
um, what else?
I
I know you
mean, I
like
like
Arizona
to.
basketball.
Oh yeah, I
Anybody
mean,
that knows you well knows
oh
that.
yeah, anybody that knows me knows I like. I'm a diehard Arizona basketball fan. I mean, I do still love the Dallas Cowboys too. I mean, I love sports. I mean, I really just like being active. I go in and out of, kind of like the seasons. With being active and stuff. I mean, I do like to go to the gym. I like to,
But I mean, and that's an important thing
Oh yeah, no.
because I mean, from my experience with you, you are more motivated when you're when you're consistently in the gym.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do think that kind of frees up my mind a little bit more and allows, me to be more motivated just in general in life. But I mean, I would say, I don't know. I mean, I just like to stay busy, being active outside of work, and just, not necessarily looking for like a next investment type thing, but really just, I like to just kind of focus on what I have and,
Sure.
and trying to fine tune like stuff at work, stuff at home, whether it be working around the house. And, I mean, as long as you have the time, and that's kind of like, just like yesterday, I had time to be able to focus on the yard and, mow my own yard and take care of that stuff and then go on a walk. We obviously live in a, beautiful community where you can, comfortably go on walks or bike rides. We like to go on bike rides. We
Hmm.
just tried starting to get into pickleball last year, like a little bit. We played a few times,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's nice having that court down there. I mean, realistically, just trying to be a better person every day. Just trying to find a way to be a better person and potentially help other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big, in business or in general, when you make that transition to caring more about helping other people than necessarily making yourself more money or more, you know, material things and stuff like that. Like, I want the people that work with us to grow and I want them to be successful. Like, I don't, it's not like I'm focused on just, you know, making more money or anything. I want to see other people be successful. I want to see them grow too and, be able to flourish as well and have, you know, families that
Oh
they're, proud to provide for and things like that. And that's just, I mean, that's probably a transition that happened only, since probably COVID really for me is like realizing like, okay, there's more than just making more money, growing businesses. Like I like to grow businesses and the real estate and everything just because I like to do it. It's not even because of the money part. It's I
hmm
just like to do it. I like to be in a state of growth
Right.
at all times.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with all that stuff. I mean, money's not a thing to me either, and it never really has been. But I mean, since I've been blessed to get more financially stable and been able to, it's freed up more time. And I think that's just the most precious thing that you can't buy is time. So, I mean, just kind of like times like yesterday when I actually had the time to have a couple hours to be able to go on a walk and just be able to
Mm-hmm.
relax and
Yeah.
just be able to make life more
Well, I think
simple.
you don't take it for you have. I mean, we have a different perspective, and some people that even work for us that have been with us for years have the perspective of they and we know that it can change like that.
Oh, yeah.
You can lose one person, and you don't have that time to go on the walk anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And you are working in the business all those hours instead of like you need to be working on the business.
Right.
You're in it 70 hours a week again instead of 50. You know, and that it just takes that one thing happening.
Yeah. Sometimes it does just take that one domino falling for that to be the case. I mean, and I think that's kind of been a challenge for our sales and what we kind of do. That's like our challenge when it comes to staffing is like, how do you find that balance? And I think obviously every business has to find that balance where, you know, you're paying a certain amount for a certain amount of production and, you know, you're bringing in this much in sales. Like, yeah, it's not all about money, but you know, you can't be spending more money than what you're bringing in on staffing or on your products.
You still have to turn a profit to be responsible so you can keep your people employed.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, and we obviously, you know, we are a smaller shop. So, I mean, I am more of like an owner-operator type person, which, I mean, has also been a battle of mine since day one. You know, the first 4 years, I had a really good staff, a lot of really good, young, motivated individuals that were ready to grow. And, you know, looking back on that time, if I was going to grow, that would have been the time to grow because you have the motivated people that see your vision and they feel like they can help you get it to where you see it, you know. But, I mean, I didn't back then, and, you know, it's okay. But, I mean, it's really just about, you know, picking and choosing your times to make that next leap. Because, I mean, you got to know your personnel and, you know, just know kind of what you got around you. But, I mean, it's not about money, and I do enjoy, like, building the relationships with the employees. I mean, I do think that anyone that has owned their own business for, you know, 5 to 10 year period has probably been burned by some employees. But, I mean, it's, you know, going into the situation, you know, that can be a possibility. We grew up in our family. We watched our dad, you know, deal with some family members that had even, you know, stolen from him or, you know, whether it be food or time, you know what I mean? It's, you know, but, I mean, it's still worth being able to build those relationships and being able to, you know, build up some of these young kids. Like I just hired 3 kids that were teenagers this past, you know, wintertime. And it was definitely a challenge. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, because I think the longer you kind of go without doing that type of training stuff, the harder it becomes. Because, you know, obviously the older we're getting, the less, you know, in touch we are with the younger generation. And
well, I think it's just it goes to, I think, growing patience at all times. It's just because it's no matter what. I mean, as we get older, we expect people to just know things, and realistically, if they've never been showed how or properly trained on something, we can't expect them to. But as we get older, I'm just realizing I need to work on my patience more and more because I feel like I have less of it than I used to.
I mean, and I don't have kids, so I mean, if I had kids too, like I would even maybe have a little bit more of that. Yeah. But I mean, it's like when you are trying to train some of these younger people, I mean, you're right. I mean, it does just come down to patience. It makes me think that, you know, the teachers aren't being paid enough, obviously, because it's just like, you know, and it's not even necessarily that the kids are even as bad. It's just maybe they didn't get as much attention to detail being taught in other places. And you know,
I mean, it's our obligation to train them, and as long as they're willing to be trainable, then there's no reason to not get them to the level you need them to. Obviously, that's a whole different issue. If they just don't want to learn, they don't want to be trained, well then, I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, that's the only person you can't train is the people that don't want to show up and don't want to learn anything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the one thing that I've probably remembered most from the person and personal development that I've studied the most, Jim Rohn, is, you know, you can't send your ducks to Eagle School. You know, so, I mean, you also have to kind of know who you have, and you got to know what type of position you're trying to fill. And, I mean, we've always tried to grow within. And, I mean, I feel like, you know, our dad was the same way. He would build people up from, you know, driver up to manager. And you kind of can see people's potential that way. And I've never even hired in a manager. So, I mean, I've always tried to build them up because I think it's just important to build that trust at the same time that you're building that work ethic, you know, with them. But
Yeah, no, I mean it's all a process, and we as the owners have to be the ones that realize when it's changing and make those pivots and adjustments to kind of, I mean, cater to I mean, obviously it was different when Dad was hiring people in the 90s than it is for us hiring in the 2020s, and it's just realizing those differences and being able to capitalize on still getting the good talent that is motivated because it's still out there. It's just
Yeah, I mean, you got to be willing to adapt too, whether it
yeah,
be like your approach to training somebody. I mean, I think, we are teachers, obviously, whenever we are training these people. I mean, people learn differently. So, I mean, it's just you can't get too frustrated too quickly with people whenever they're not getting it done the exact way you need it done.
yeah,
So, I mean, it can be frustrating, but I mean,
yeah.
you got to be willing to adapt.
So what are some? You said Jim Rohn. Who are some other people like motivational or books or podcasts or stuff that you listen to that kind of help keep you motivated or keep you in tune? Like if somebody came up to you and was like, "Hey, what are you kind of
Listening
what are you
to,
pouring into yourself that
okay.
is
I mean,
helping
Tony
you?"
Tony Robbins has always been somebody that
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of gravitated towards just because I like his approach. I like his kind of loud, the way that he delivers his seminars and whatnot. Like, and then he has a really good seminar like on Netflix called Date with Destiny. That's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of really good for like people that are lost and don't really know exactly what direction they're trying to go in life. And I mean, it could just be a moment where you're just feeling lost just at a point in life and you want to like listen to some of his stuff and, he can kind of get you back on track. And then, Jim Rohn, he was doing it for a long time too. And you can still see a lot of his seminars on YouTube and whatnot that were filmed. But I mean, just kind of his approach to the way, the seasons of life and, he has really good books too that you can read. I don't know the names of them off the top of my head. But I mean, those are the two main core ones that I've listened to. And then I started gravitating towards the podcast that you showed me with the Priscilla.
Oh, Real AF
Yeah,
with Andy
real.
Frisella. Yeah,
Yeah, with Andy Frisella. I mean, I like, and I mean, his approach is similar to kind of like a Tony Robbins, like
yeah. Like kind of in your face.
Yeah, like no filter, like
Yeah,
hey,
yeah, yeah.
Unapologetically gonna let you know how I'm
Yeah,
feeling today,
which is what I
and
feel like we
that's
like because we kind of grew up that way.
right. And I
Like,
mean, it might hurt our feelings sometimes, but I would much rather people be unapologetically
yeah, as
honest to
long as
my
you're being
face.
respectful,
Right. Let's
be as honest as you want, and let's move on and
Right.
let's grow from it. So if like a 20-year-old came up to you like, hey, I want to open my own business, what would be like 3 or 4 pieces of advice that you would give that person?
Well, I mean, I would definitely start with just saying like the number one thing that they need to be is motivated about the subject. Like
Passionate.
they have to be passionate about what they're going to be doing. Because I mean, we've talked about it a couple times with the staffing stuff, but I mean, there's just some businesses that you're going to own that you can't run without help. So I mean, and obviously I've talked about it out of frustration numerous times over the past like 5 years. But I mean, man, I really wish I would have chose something that I could just depend on myself because I'm there 7 days a week.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you don't have to, worry about me not showing up. I'll be there at 2:50 to open the door instead of 3. Just in case somebody's going to call early. But I mean, I would say the number one thing is being motivated about the subject. I mean, being ready to work, and I would just recommend what I've done for the past 10 years is I don't clock in. So I would recommend that just because some people get caught up, and it's too many times with a lot of my friends that do the 9 to 5 jobs or do the blue collar jobs, or they're working out at 8 a.m. or something. I always catch them talking about how much they worked or how much overtime they put in over the weekend, or oh, I only got this day off and stuff. And I feel like if you love what you do so much that you don't even clock in, and it's more of a hobby type situation, then it just makes it so much more simple for longevity purposes. I mean, there's been moments where I've been a little tired out, but I mean, it's still at the end of the day, I fall back on I'm just passionate about doing it. So I would definitely say being passionate about it and don't clock in. And then I would say the number three, and probably the most important thing to do is to learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. So when you're not at work, doing the little things that you can do to prepare yourself to be better at work, is just important.
Yeah.
Because if you're not the best version of yourself, a lot of people just pick up on that too. So, I mean, people pick up on body language, people pick up on, attitudes and whatnot. And even just with us taking orders over the phone, I mean, you used to do it too. People can sense that attitude and that tone and, in customer service. I mean, a lot of it is like that. I think you got half of the people and, maybe less than half the people in the town. Half the people in the town that want to go eat somewhere because they have great service, and half the people want to eat there because they have great food.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think you can win both ways in this area because people are forgiving and people will give, a place that's crazy busy, a second shot if it took 2 hours on their food tonight, But, I mean, yeah, I would say
intentionally growing yourself.
Just learn to work more on yourself than you do on your job.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
translate to the job.
Right, and that quote's from Jim Rohn. I mean, is where I heard that first which I think that's kind of resonated with me ever since I first heard Jim Rohn. It just kind of clicked in my head. My buddy, Tyler Rouse showed me Jim originally, probably 12 years ago or something now. And I mean, obviously he doesn't have anything new that comes out or anything, but I still listen to the same, seminars that still hold true today that he filmed back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, it's just, and he even had somebody ask, like, man, all these important people in the world, what's the next 10 years going to be like? And, he just jokes and says, like, I do know a lot of people, a lot of millionaire, billionaire people around the world, and I do know that probably the next 10 years are going to be a lot like the last 10 have been. Yeah. So, like, I don't know. I just like the simple approach to life. I mean, one foot in front of the other. As long as you're moving forward, you're not going backwards, And I think as long as you stay, steady with that in your personal life and your business life, I mean, you should continue to grow. And it doesn't have to be big, huge steps every single day because, you really just have to gain momentum.
Every day you have a choice to take a step forward or a step back. Right. I mean, and at the end of the day, 9 out of 10 days are just a baby shift forward, but that's what adds up, because you do that 10 days in a row, you took a couple full steps.
Right. I mean, you hear it all the time with these people but if you do the opposite, you have the opposite as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can.
If if you're not taking those steps forward, you're going somewhere. You're not just going nowhere.
You can't just stay still.
I mean, because time doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
either shifting forward or backwards. Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me, and we'll do it again sometime. But I just wanted to really get this one done early because I knew you'd have a lot of good insight to give people, and especially younger people, and ways to stay motivated and everything. So because everybody does have a purpose, and you took a little bit more time to figure out what you thought, your true purpose was and everything. And everyone has a different path and a different way of getting to that solid purpose and staying motivated. So thanks a lot for coming on. And
thanks for having me. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.